Erica, so good to have you here on the podcast. Welcome.
Michelle, I am so pumped for this conversation. I already know it's going to be amazing because just before you clicked record, we were already going at it.
Yes, exactly. Those are my favorite. And then it's just like an extension where people get to listen in, right? Like
Like,
flies
come
on the
on,
wall.
record this.
Yes. Awesome. I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about today, and I'm believing it's going to help some people. But before we jump in, just let everyone know a little bit about you, your family, the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. So I'm a wife and a mama, first and foremost. I've got two little kids, almost 7 and almost 10. And we live in North Carolina. But what I do today is I work with ambitious women and I help them get into positions of power and stay there, right? Because we
Mm.
have this problem right now where so many women are leaving the workforce because it's a system that is not built for us and it doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge gender equality advocate. It's always what I'm fighting for. But
Yeah.
what kind of brought me to this place was I started my career in health and wellness and hit my very first ceiling after being in corporate America for only 8 years and
Okay.
was told that that was the highest I could go. So I transitioned into HR because I'm very just ambitious and always looking to grow. And I had been given this playbook for success, right? It's the playbook that we all get when we're born that says if you do all of these things, if you go to school and get good grades and graduate from college, you'll be doing the right things. And then you need to meet the right man and get married. And I was doing all of those things. Check, check, check.
Yeah.
And I was doing them so well, I actually found myself in the C suite. I was a chief people officer in tech in my early 30s. And so I had gotten up to this point, right? The highest point on the corporate ladder. And Michelle, I was just so unhappy. I was like, this is all there is. Like, this is what I have worked so hard for and sacrificed for. And that's when I really started building my business on the side as a speaker and an author and a coach. And my passion was just always with women, and especially with women who have kids, because it is
Yeah.
just a different beast for us.
Yeah.
And having to navigate all those nuances was just, it was so hard. And there were so many things that nobody was talking about that I really wanted to go in and focus on that. So that's what I do now. I work with women who want to grow, who want to level up and want to connect, but they want to do it without sacrificing their sanity or their success.
Oh, come on. Okay. I can't wait because this is so needed. Like I'm thinking back to when so my girls are 16 months apart. So I had the first one. And at that time, I had left my corporate law job and I was running my own law practice. I had a partner and we had a staff, but I'm like, oh, this is so awesome. Starting my family. I'm going to take like 3 or 4 weeks and just like work from home. And then I'll just be back business as usual.
I didn't just birth a whole human.
Oh my goodness. And like I was so naive. I was so under resourced. I was blindsided. And then I sent myself into, a deep state of burnout, which has, thus prompted the work that I'm doing now. So I see it from the back end, but like, holy moly, if I had had someone to be like, hey, this is how we're going to structure this and set you up so you can do it. But like you said, in a way that's actually sustainable, you're not going to hate your life. You're not going to be crying by yourself at 3 a.m. You're not trying to do all the things. So let's start there. What are some things that you see that we as women raising kids just have to do differently? Like just because of all the things on our plate, we just have to approach all of this differently.
The very first thing that comes to my mind is, well, it's actually two things. It's number one, letting go of the perfectionism. And then also having a lot of self-compassion. And I had a lot of perfectionism and not a lot of self-compassion. And that is where I see it starting. And we give so much, right? And as mothers, we are really trained from a very early age to learn that we are always going to be pouring into others people's cups. We never pour into ours. And so when I'm working with my women, the first thing that I dive into is like, let's talk about perfectionism. And what I find so interesting is most women experience that to some degree. And when you look at the stats, right, they say there are 72% of women out there who are struggling with perfectionism.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm really honest with you, Michelle, I used to think I didn't have perfectionism because I don't mind if that room is messy. Like that's where I thought this was going.
Okay.
And then
how is it showing up? Yeah.
Yes. Well, when I sat down and I was actually doing coaching with another woman on her perfectionism, she said something to me and it was really like holding a mirror up.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm pretty relaxed about a lot of things, but if my workouts aren't 30 minutes, I won't do it. Like it doesn't count. And she's like, it's not good enough. And I was like, oh, because remember, my first profession was health and wellness. So I had learned that like, you got to do 30 minutes of this followed by strength training and don't forget to mix in yoga. And so every week I'd map out this perfect schedule. And then, life be lifing, kids be getting sick and doing all this and that. And you know what happened? I'd be like, well, I only have 20 minutes. So it's not going to be good enough. I'm not going to get it. Yeah. And then it's like, well, now you're not even doing anything. What in the world?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I want to talk about this more, but I want to start with the self-compassion because I think that a lot of people, well, one, I think they think it's like just something nice to do or have like, oh, it would be nice if my internal voice was a little different, or it would be nice if I was a little more kind to myself. But I think we grossly underestimate the power of self-compassion, how it actually rewrites tornado warning. Let's talk about it. Tell them where we started this podcast and how
so if you just heard that loud, everybody, it doesn't matter if your iPhone is on Do Not Disturb. I live in North Carolina and, we had a snowstorm last week. So this week we're going to have a tornado warning. And I prefaced that like we're in a tornado warning. And then literally it just comes through. You're in a tornado warning until 12:45. Take shelter now. Girl, we ain't taking shelter. We're in a podcast. We got things to do. Let's go.
Podcasting from home is shelter. We're good.
Where am I going to go? Okay.
Oh my word. Okay. So we're going to talk about pivoting because real life happens.
Real life pivoting.
And I want to talk about it, and even perfectionism, because we're not going to edit this out because this is real life. And we can adjust and adapt and get back to it. So let's talk about the self-compassion. And then I really do want to talk about this perfectionism thing because I think it's a big thing too.
Yeah. So self-compassion was always something I thought was a lot of fluff. I thought it was a lot of BS and it wasn't anything I was interested in. And I think that's part of because like, there's a lot of things that I'm very proud about myself for, and there's a lot of things I like about myself. So I always thought that was good enough. Right. But what I didn't recognize was that there were so many areas in my life where I was not giving myself grace. Right. Where I was the things that I would allow for my friends, right, to cancel a dinner or to, say, hey, I can't come tonight. Things are too crazy. I could never do that because I needed to be there for all of these other people. And it wasn't until I really sat down with my therapist and started working with her. And she's like, Erica, your like self-compassion meter is way low. And I was like, no, it's not. What are you talking about? I was so defiant about it because I'm all over here. Like I exercise, I drink the green juice, I meditate. Well, try to, right? But like I'm doing all the self-care things. And she's like, well, what do you say to yourself when you don't do all those things, right? How do you talk to yourself? How are you speaking to yourself? What is that internal dialogue? And I realized that the majority of what I was saying to myself and that I wasn't trusting myself, right? Like I would tell myself I would do something and then I wouldn't follow through with it. And so over time, I was learning not to trust myself. And so it was this whole big thing that I really had to unravel with her to get down to the bare bones that like sometimes self-compassion is rest. Sometimes it's saying no. Sometimes it's saying no, even if you really want to say yes, but you just don't have the time and it's going to stress you out later. Like self-compassion is not just saying great things about yourself and, oh, you look good in a bikini. So yay, It's that nitty gritty, like when something isn't perfect and it doesn't go as planned, how do you adapt? How do you grow with that? How do you roll with the punches, or do you roll with the punches, And what I had found out was that I wasn't, and to give you just a story to kind of highlight it, this one now cracks me up, but it's a bit with the perfectionism and also the self-compassion. And that was when my daughter was turning 4. I took her to like Party City and we got all the balloons. And of course we found this one big life-size fantastic unicorn balloon. So of course we have to get this unicorn balloon, and it comes home with us and we blow it up. And I would say about an hour and a half before the party starts, the balloon pops. So I do what any normal mom would do and say, oh my God, we have to get another replacement balloon. Like, get in the car. Let's go. Because we have to have this balloon. That's what's going to make this party perfect. So I load my kid up in the car. I race to the balloon store, which, by the way, is 20 minutes away. So now we're already 40 minutes down, right? Because I got to get there and back. And I get to Party City. Girl, it's a freaking Saturday. Do you think that I can just walk up and order my balloon, or do you think I got to wait in that line? So then I'm waiting in the line and I'm watching all these people fill up their balloons, and I'm like watching my clock because this party's about to start and I'm nowhere near home. And it's like, Erica, needless to say, thank goodness most of my friends were late, but like I had to have that balloon and I was beating myself up over not having it. And I mean, I see you laughing over there and it's hilarious. It's a freaking balloon. Like, she probably doesn't even remember that balloon. And I can damn sure tell you no one else at that party remembers that balloon.
Yeah.
But it's all about how you speak to yourself after that, right? And even like recognizing that I did go all crazy mom and like drag my kid to the store when I could have just left the balloon dead on the floor. Yeah. And it's like, okay, let's take a step. Let's evaluate this and like see how we can pivot next time.
Yeah. Okay. That's so good. And I'm sure everyone is chuckling along because they can imagine or remember, I should say, a moment that was very similar for them. I certainly can. Okay. So your therapist points this out to you. You realize that self-compassion isn't just like being hard on yourself with like an internal critic or what have you, but it's like allowing ourselves to actually care for ourselves, right? And respect our limits and our bandwidth and all these different things. Talk to me a little bit about how you started to grow in self-compassion and people who are listening that can relate, like some steps that they can start to take.
Yeah. So for me, when it also came to self-compassion, it was really tightly linked with people pleasing because I was so used to just pouring into everybody else's cup and making sure that they were taken care of and they were handled first. And so for me, when I was like, okay, I've really got to like do the things to set myself up for success, it was more about saying no to a lot of things because I was always that person that would figure out how to squeeze it in. And it was a combination of like, yeah, I wanted to be there and I wanted to support everybody, but it was also that I didn't want them to be upset with me. And I had this belief that if I said no, or if I couldn't make it, or if I didn't show up, that was a reflection on me as a person. And so I always said yes to everything. And this would be to the detriment of my sleep, to the detriment of my anxiety, right? Because now I've realized how much I've committed to and all of the things that I have to do. So saying no is the single most easiest yet hardest thing I've ever had to do when it comes to having self-compassion, because even just the other day, like I'm on the executive leadership team for the American Heart Association. We get to go to this incredible heart ball every year. This year, that heart ball falls on one Saturday in between two of my trips, right? So in theory, I could go.
Yeah.
In theory, right? But when I sit down and I look at my life and where I want things to matter, which is with my family first and foremost, I know I need to be at home. Yes. But it still took me a few days to say no. That email sat in my inbox, even though I know I couldn't go, that email sat in my inbox for a couple days because I just couldn't send it. So I would say saying no is that one thing that's really going to move the needle when it comes to bringing in that self-compassion.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And something I've really I used to really struggle to say no also. And then in the last, like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years, at first I made it a challenge. I'm like, I'm going to say no to like everything because I'm like flexing this muscle. I'm going to practice this until it doesn't like trigger my nervous system like I could do at that time. But something that's been really helpful for me and my husband and I actually just the past, like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months, we've really been talking a lot about this as we make really big decisions and try to steward our time well. And it's the difference between something that is the good thing or a good thing and the right thing. Because there are a lot of things that are really good for me to attend, participate in, say yes to, what have you. But those are not all the right thing for me to be doing on that day or in that moment. And sometimes that helps me just kind of distinguish like, yeah, it's a good thing for me to say yes and speak on this panel or show up to this or attend this thing. These are all good things, but they're not the right thing for me in this season for right now, right where I'm at. And that like helps me to kind of separate from it, because you're right. We can't say yes to everything, and it's a fast track to burnout, and there's not a lot of compassion there.
Yeah. One of the exercises that I do, I run an online digital community with women, and we do this exercise, and it's a time and energy audit, essentially. But unlike a regular time and energy audit, I then have a second part of it where it's like, okay, how much of your day were you focused on family? How much of your day were you focused on work? How much of your day were you focused on keeping up the home, outside activities, all the other things that you do, right? Yeah. And I have a lovely little spreadsheet where it all tracks it, and then it tallies it up, and it shows you like, oh, you're spending 80% of your time at work and 5% at home. And if your core values are family, and you see that, you know, there is a big disconnect. And so I love to take that time and show people like, this is how much time you're actually spending in these areas of your life, because it can be a wake-up call. We can get so wrapped up in all the things we should be doing that we forget to focus our energy on the things we actually care about.
Yes. And it's such a slippery slope, and it doesn't happen. Like, none of us wake up and are like, I want to spend 90% of my time thinking about work, at work, worried about work, like talking about work. But it happens, right? If we're not careful. Okay. Sure. So let's kind of switch. It's not even a switch, because they go hand in hand, I think, with the people pleasing, self-compassion, and perfectionism. And I kind of want to start, I guess, just with perfectionism, even. I think a couple things. One, and I'd love your take on this, I think there is a subconscious belief for most of us who have had perfectionistic tendencies that that's why we've been so successful, right? That's what's pushed me. That's the reason why I got a C-suite job. That's the reason why I got whatever it is. Like, we're like, I've gotten to this point because things are just meticulous, right? And it's not true, but we kind of have that narrative running. And then I think the other part of it is we have a hard time distinguishing perfectionism from just having like a spirit of excellence and doing things well, which I value deeply, as I try not to be a perfectionist about it. So kind of talk to me about the mindset part of it and the interplay there.
You know, when you said that, I was like, you know what? I don't think my perfectionism had anything to do with my success. I really don't. In fact, I actually think, you know, and I was very successful in the corporate world, corporate terms, right? But I think that probably slowed my climb on the corporate ladder, right? And let's be clear, my climb was very fast, right? C-suite in your 30s is not easy. But I do think that had I let go of that, I would have been much less fearful to raise my hand for different things, much less fearful to offer myself up. I don't think perfectionism played any role in that. I do agree with the spirit of excellence, right? Like, I pride myself on doing good work. I want to do good work. But the problem with that versus perfectionism is at your expense, right? Yeah. Having a high standard of excellence means I'm going to turn this in. I know it's not finished or it's not complete. It's not exactly how I would like it, but this is pretty darn good. You're going to get it. That's a spirit of excellence, right? The perfectionism is, this is not flawless. It's not good enough, right? They won't like me. And it's a much deeper layer. It's really tying that self-worth to your output, which I think is something a lot of women do.
Yep. And it's rooted in fear. For me, like, that's when I know it's not excellence and it's perfectionism. And it's like, this can't go out. This isn't good enough. You just like feel and hear the constriction and like all of the fear in it. Yes. Whereas with excellence, it's like, it's what they're getting today. It's going to provide value. It's going to help somebody. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. And I'm going to move on and have that momentum.
Well, and it's so interesting that you say that, because I do think I really struggled with perfectionism in different areas when it came to things like my school and stuff. So now that I have little kids, like, I am that mom where I'm like, oh, you got a 78? Great job, right? But let's also be clear. I got called to the principal's office the other day because my kid got a 78. You know, so I know it's wild. Like, so I really try to instill in them that, you know, if it's not perfect, it's okay. And I hear a lot of it coming more from my daughter than I do my son, which I also, again, find so interesting with the gender dynamics. But she will say, like, I got a 92. Like, oh my God, that's not good enough. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me more about that, because I have an 8-year-old who also likes things to be very particular. We homeschool, so it's like not so much the grade. I don't even grade anything. Like, we don't talk about it. But like, if she's working on a project or drawing something or whatever. Like I can feel that coming up in her. And I'd love to hear how you talk to your kids
Yeah.
about
So
it.
with the artwork, that's a big one. She will
Yeah.
start drawing, and if it doesn't look like a Picasso, like let's throw it away and start a new one. And at first I was like, girl, I can't spend this much money on printer paper. Okay. Like eggs are $10. Times are tough. We cannot be just drawing one line and throw it away.
Yes.
And so we have a lot of conversations about how what real artists do is they take something that might not be perfect and they turn it into something they love. And so we encourage them to continue drawing it out, right?
Yeah.
And to continue just to see what happens, right? Because we're doing this for fun. And I ask them, like, what are you doing this for? Like, are you going to sell this artwork, you know, or are you just doing it because it's fun? It's a fun thing for you and me to do together. And so I bring them also back to their why of like, why are we doing this? And I am always, always, always trying to showcase by example. So I do a lot of keynoting. My kids know this. They know what I talk about. They hear me practicing regularly. And they ask me after every keynote, like, how did you do? Did you mess up? And every single time I tell them, oh yeah, like I messed up big time. I was like, but guess what? Like nobody knew. And I was able to do this. And I talk to them about how I revamp it. And they're always like, oh, okay, that's good. Yeah. But I just try to show them like, this is normal and it's what it is. And it's still great.
That's so good, right? Just like familiarizing them with the fact that, yes, we mess up, we make mistakes, it's not perfect. And we can actually celebrate that. Like it means I was doing something new and I was trying something hard. And like, that's what happens. And then we adjust and we pivot and we keep going and we learn and we grow. And I love that you're normalizing that. It's awesome.
Yeah. And the biggest switch I love to just share too with my daughter is always that, you know, when you're in it and when you want it to be perfect and you're feeling all of those feels, it's just because you have that standard of excellence. It's because you care so much. And that's a good thing, you know? And she's usually pretty good about like, okay, I do care, Mom, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You're not dismissing it, right? You're validating her care and also reminding her that it doesn't have to be perfect and it can still be really valuable. Yeah. Yeah. And what I hear rooted in that, and I think it's true for all of us is, and you mentioned it earlier, the worthiness part, because the self-compassion, the perfectionism, the people pleasing, they're all rooted in our self-worth and how we kind of see that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We got 80% of women who don't feel as if they're enough, you know, 80%. You know, and 73% of men struggle with feelings of inadequacy. So it's out there. So all of those affirmations back to your kids and mirroring it and showing them, it's so helpful.
Yeah, because it starts early, right? That voice forms so young for all of us. So the more that you can reinforce, you know, the way in which we want our kids to think about themselves is so powerful. I do want to talk about your day-to-day a little bit because you're keynoting, you're traveling, you're doing a lot of things. You have young children at home. I would imagine there are a lot of moving parts and schedule changes, and like a kid is sick and a tornado warning coming on, you know, through the phone and all, you know, school can't, what have you. And I think a lot of us can feel that way, especially for the high achievers. Like it's like we've got a lot to do and managing everything that's changing at home, which is so unpredictable. It can be hard to keep that flexibility when people are counting on us at home and in our professional lives. So I would love to just hear like a little bit maybe on like how you approach it from a mindset part to keep yourself flexible so it's sustainable, how you talk to your kids about that, and then like maybe some practical things that you can offer the women listening who are like, oh, I think if I put that into place, that would actually be a game changer for me.
Yeah. So for me, you have to remember I came from corporate and I came from tech, and I spent a lot of time traveling all the way over to India and back. And I mean, there was one time I think where I was gone for almost 2 months out of a year, 3 months out of a year, just because I was in India, and not at one time, but multiple trips, right? It almost feels like it would be easier if it would be at one time, because every time I travel, I'd have to create this full agenda with all of the moving parts. Who's doing carpool pickup and takeoff? Like this kid has a practice, but since I'm gone, what are we doing with the other kid? And so I'm pulling in, I'm very fortunate, very privileged. My mother lives 5 minutes around the road. Like I tell everybody, I would not be able to have this level of ease without her there. Right. So I am very fortunate in that. But just getting everything like up and running. I mean, even this weekend, I'm literally flying to Florida and back on a Friday. I'm home for a Saturday because my daughter has a cheer competition. And then I leave again on Sunday for South by Southwest. It's insane, right? And what I have found is getting all of my ducks in a row as early as possible is what really keeps me sane. Okay. It's when I postpone that, and I usually postpone it because it's hard, and I have to ask people for things and I have to coordinate it all. But when I get in front of it, I feel much more grounded and much more centered. And so do my kids, because then they know what's going on. Yeah. And everybody has a sheet. The kids know they can go and look at the sheet and see when is mom gone? When is mom coming back?
Okay.
But, you asked about tangible things that we could put into place. And one of the biggest things for our family has been a Sunday family meeting. And I thought that was the corniest, stupidest thing in the world. I'm like, we see each other every day. Like, I don't need to have a team meeting. Like, I do enough meetings. But the crazier my life got with my travel schedule and everything, the more, even though it was on the calendar, like my husband would look at the calendar and he's thinking that's 3 weeks away when really it's next week, know? So sitting down and reminding everybody, mom has these keynotes on this day, you've got baseball this day, you've got cheer this day. Like, let's talk about it. What worked last week? What didn't? Right? Because sometimes I will hear things from my kids where they're like, Mom, we did way too much last week. Like, I didn't get to play with my friends at home. And that's a clue. Like, okay, we need to back off a little. We're overextending ourselves. Yeah. So getting that family meeting and having the agenda of like, the first is always like, what do we have going on this week? And what do we need to do? The second point of that agenda is like, did anybody have anything that happened last week they want to talk about? Right. So this is kind of the chance to air any grievances or like, hey, we got snagged up here or you didn't do that there, so that we can work it out for the next week. Awesome. And then it's just that quiet time for us where we also get to ask the kids, like, what do you want to see happen this week? Because we forget that they have opinions and minds too. And we just get so used to doing what we want to do. Sometimes we fail to ask them. So one of my favorite questions is always like, if you could do one thing this week, and they know at this point, it's got to be within the realm of normal. It can't be go to Disney World. Okay. Or we're going to the beach, skip school. No, but they get to then say like, I wanted to, do this more, or do that more, spend more time at home. And I didn't get to do it because we had too much. Yeah. Great. Now let's assess.
Yeah, I think that's so good. It gets everyone on the same page. Like you said, gives everyone a chance to be heard and to share, and then really sets you up for success. We do a family meeting too, and when we skip it, like if ever there's a lot going on and we miss it, my husband and I are like, like it just feels.
What are you doing today? Yes, it's like you can't catch up.
No, it's a big deal. Okay, I love that. I want to hear a little bit about things that you delegate that people might be surprised to learn or haven't even thought of, that you're like, yeah, I just don't have the bandwidth to like do this, and I delegate it.
You know what? I mean, here's what's really interesting.
Tell me.
And I have never, because a lot of people, especially busy executive women, will be like, you got to delegate out the food shopping and the cleaning. Okay. And I've never delegated that out. Never in my life. Right. And I don't know why, like, it just feels easy. It fits into my routine. So I don't feel the need to do that. But where I do delegate out is a lot of that to my partner, right? To my husband. And so he and I really work well of like, okay, you're doing this and I'm doing that. Yeah. And then I delegate out to my mom. She helps with school pickup. One of the biggest game changers for me, y'all, this is so ridiculous, was I asked another mom in the neighborhood if she wanted to help carpool. Right. So instead of both her and me driving to school and back every single day, we split it. She takes in the morning, I pick up, or vice versa. Like, why did that take me so long to delegate? That's brilliant. Yeah. And so I absolutely delegate carpool, but I do keep a lot of the like taking care of the home in. And I've been very fortunate, Michelle, since I quit corporate and I started my own job, right? My own career. I really was very intentional about, I wanted to have my life by design. Yeah. And what that looked like to me was not getting started until my kids were out the door and being completely done by the time they are home. Right. And so I got to leave 2:30 is like when they start filing in the door, and like my workday is done then. And it means that I have to be very intentional with my time while they're here or while they're not here. But then when they do walk in the door, I am no longer split between a computer and my kids, which was my existence for their entire lives before that.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, well, that's great, but like, I can't quit at 3 o'clock. I got a 9 to 5. And to that, I say, I hear you and I see you. And as much as you can control your calendar, I would say you should, right? If you have the ability to block that as like work time where you can focus in on emails and projects, but also still be available for your kids and you work remote, do it. Otherwise figure out how you can make that time in your day somehow. And that might mean cutting something out of your life, an activity, right? Or cutting down on something. One of the things I really cut down on recently, which I thought would be really stressful and hard for me, but has actually been a game changer, is not being so all in on my fitness. I'm actually in the best shape of my freaking life, and I'm not working out nearly as hard or as much as I was before.
Okay. Yeah,
so that's kind of like, that's not a delegation. You can't delegate out your fitness, but you can start to cut back in some of those areas.
Yep. In certain seasons, right? But that's what it takes. Yeah. And our health is so much bigger than just our physical body. So you're right. It's like it does nothing for me to be really intense with my fitness routine, but then my mental and emotional health are suffering.
That's a whole other ballpark,
Yeah. Okay. One last thing. For the women listening who either, yes, like they're wanting to get their work in while their kids are at school and they do stop at 2-3 o'clock whenever their kids get home, or they have the 9 to 5. And then when they get home at the time you would get home from a corporate job, what are some ways, maybe some boundaries that you have in place to help you be where your feet are, right? It's like we seek this work-life balance, but like sometimes my kids will get home at 3:30 and it's like a text will come through or an email will come through. Yeah. Like what are some boundaries that you have in place to help you? Nothing is perfect, but generally protect, this is my work time. And then this is my home family time.
Yeah. It definitely is a challenge on the day the kids are home, right? That kind of spills over, but because my values, my family's over my work, that's okay. Right. And so I think for me, really making sure that I'm focused in on my kids, I do things like I leave my phone in a different room. And that was something I never did before, right? I actually quit wearing an Apple Watch because that was so distracting. I felt like I had to be on every single text message, And just giving myself that distance between my electronic devices was a huge eye opener for me that I really wasn't, right? So all those times that we think we're multitasking and we're checking homework and we're on a meeting, we are not in either place, right? You're not doing anyone any good. And the magic in releasing this multitasking beast is that it feels at first like you're doing things a lot slower, but you actually are speeding up time because you are so in and focused and like giving it all your attention.
Yes.
And that has been a game changer.
Yes. The Navy SEALs say slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right?
I like it. I like it. Sign me up.
They're onto something. Okay. So good. I want to give you a chance, I guess, to leave the women listening with a final thought. Maybe something that you want to encourage them with, or a practical thing that you think that they need to know or remember, but share a word of wisdom with us.
I think for me, whenever I'm just really caught up in it and I'm stressed and I'm feeling the anxiety, but we're moms, so these kids are always here. I really think about, how do I want my kids to feel about me in 20 years, right? And for me, I want my kids to think my mom was always there. My mom always played with me when I asked. My mom always gave me attention, but my mom also worked hard on her own stuff, right? Yeah. And that's how I want my kids to feel. And if I'm so stretched thin, they're not going to feel that love. They're going to get to when they're 30 and they're going to say, yeah, my mom works a lot. I don't want that. Yeah. And so if you're up in the feels and you're stuck and you're feeling like you're being pulled in a million directions and you're not sure where to focus your attention, just ask yourself, like, how do you want the people who are most important in your life to feel in the next 20 years?
Yeah. Yep. And I think that if that's kind of like I don't know if it's a barometer, but it's like always something we can come back to, right? Like I want the same thing. And like, do I always get it right? no, I don't. But when I sit and feel myself on the hamster wheel, I'm like, hey, I know what my North Star is, right? I know where my compass points and I can get back to that. So I think that's so wise and such a great reminder. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
For
you.
the people listening, tell them, I would love to like you to share with them. I'm sure people listening want to be part of your community and keep learning from you. So what you're offering, how they can keep working, like learning from you, all the
Oh my
things.
gosh. Well, first of all, wherever you're listening to this podcast, come check out my podcast. It's the Glass Ceilings and Sticky Floor podcast. And guess what? Michelle's going to be a guest too. So you got to wait and listen to her episode. That's spot one. Next, you can buy my book, Glass Ceilings and Sticky Floors. It's on Amazon and wherever books are sold. But also, too, if you are a mama in corporate, I have an online digital community called Her Collective, and it is filled with ambitious women who want to grow, they want to level up, but they don't want to lose their sleep, their sanity, or any of that in exchange for their success. And we literally have the best time in that group, Michelle. So join Her Collective. And if you're like, you know what, I just want to chit chat with you on LinkedIn, that's my other permanent address. So head on over there. I'm there every day.
Amazing. Okay, we will put all of those links in the show notes for you guys, easy access. But Erica, just thanks so much. I guess first for the work that you're doing because it's so needed. And it's so awesome to have women who've been there and then can turn around and help guide us right along the way because we need that mentors in this space who are doing it and living it. And thanks for taking the time, making the time to be with us today. So good to have you.
Oh my gosh, what a fun conversation. Thank you, Michelle.